So my name is Cassandra Koenig, for those online. Hello, I own Aloha Divorce, and it's a family law firm, and it deals with amicable divorces and prenups, postups, transportation agreements, parenting agreements, things like that. So I guess from my understanding of the group, we want to talk like how to get A to Z, right? Like I'm in college right now. Like, what's my story, right? So I'm in college and my major is psychology and my minor is economics. But in college, I switched colleges 3 times. Like I went to Buffalo State, I went to SUNY Buffalo. I was working at night as a waitress, and I was working during the day at KeyBank, and also at night at KeyBank. So this is a call center. I had a referral as a friend. She's like, oh, you should apply to the night shift at KeyBank so you can do your classes full time. So I was doing my classes full time, and then I was working at KeyBank. You'll see why this is relevant. At the call center, it's like cold calling, basically KeyBank customers, like, how's everything? Let me sell you a savings account, let me sell you a checking account, like, one of those. And then I really enjoyed it because I love talking to people. I love meeting people. And on the phone, I was never nervous. I was just like, hi, how's it going? I'm here at the bank. Like, would you like this or that? And then I did that for about 7 years. I eventually graduated law school with psychology and economics, and it's like still working at the bank. It's like, all right, where do I go from here? And when you work at this bank, you can see how much everyone else makes. When you're internal, if you're external, if you're not working at the bank, you want to apply to KeyBank, it's hard. So I was looking at HR, I was like, ooh, that's a lot of money. And I saw like the in-house counsel. I was like, oh. And then I looked up like, how much does law school cost? How much are they making? Like, what's going on there? It's not a romantic story by any means, but I'm gonna give you the truth, you know? And so I figured that out. I'm like, okay, so I start Googling like, how to apply for law school? I did the LSAT. All right. Took the LSAT once, just try to like free ball it. I'm like, oh, should not have done that. And then I took a prep course. I think it was like Kaplan. And then I took the prep course, spent a whole summer. Like I'd work at night at KeyBank. I would spend my days. I wouldn't do anything social. I treated like the Kaplan course as if it's the full-time job. And then that's when I'm like, okay, I've got enough, like a good enough grade on that Kaplan LSAT score where I can apply. But it's not just a test. You also have to have recommendations. Almost every law school needs to have a letter of recommendations. If it comes from like a professor, great. Yeah. So if you have a professor that you kind of feel connected with, you vibe with, stay in touch, let them know your goals, or any other kind of person. Do you know any other lawyers? Like that would also be phenomenal. So make sure you have at least like 3, 4 people that can give those letters of recommendations. You stay in touch with them, you build rapport, don't lose, don't be flaky on them, stay in touch. And with that, and then you have to do like a letter of why you want to go to law school, all this. Now they have ChatGPT, that's gonna help a lot. Just like, like what's a good reason to law school, So that would help. So I had some letters of recommendation and that helped. But then it's like, not just, okay, now I'm in, well, how am I gonna pay for this? Like I haven't even paid for my own college. For me, I was the first person in my family to go to college at all. I bought my own car, like nothing was provided. I grew up very lower economic status in like Albany, New York. To paint a picture, like if you see someone living like off the dorms, like, in an apartment building, that's kind of what I lived up like my whole life until high school. So I really had no money and I was just like, oh my God. But working at banking, it was funny. I started telling people like, okay, I want to go to law school. I worked at the headquarters, and the one in-house counsel I talked to, I was like, okay, you work for KeyBank. Basically, I want your job eventually. What should I do? He goes, abort that mission. Do not go to law school. I was like, well, he seems miserable. I'm like, okay, thanks, bye. And then I was also in charge of like the business clients. And so I did the business banking for like business owners that own law firms. So his name's Evan. I remember him distinctively in New York. He owned, he's a solo practitioner like me. And it was specifically for Native Americans of New York. Anything law related to Native Americans in that area. He was the #1 attorney and he had his own practice. And he's like, yes, you have to do it. It's like the most rewarding thing. And so, you have to. And then he also told me without me even asking, he's like, don't worry about the lawsuit debt. It's gonna be like, he's still paying it probably too, like a utility bill at first, you have to pay a cell phone every month, right? Never gonna stop. Law school, never gonna stop. And the way the law school loans do, like when you're graduated, it goes by income. So it's not unfair. It's not like, oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to afford this. It goes by income based. So if that's something that you're worried about, don't worry about it. It's fair and there's other ways to get around it. So say you applied for a JAG, which is the military attorneys, they wipe it. Or if you work for the state, like the DA, the district attorney's office, they cover the student debt. Another way is like non-for-profits also get very good tax incentives. So don't worry about the costs. Just if you want to go, freaking go. Okay. So that's covered. And then, okay, so I got into law school, got into a couple. I'm from New York. So the way I picked my law school is I went city shopping. I'm like, all right, so I'm in Albany, New York. And now I live in Buffalo, New York, both kind of lame places. I'm like, but I can go freaking anywhere. So I'd visit law schools in Chicago, Miami, San Diego, like San Francisco. And I found the city that I love the most because that's where you're gonna work. That's where you're gonna build those connections during law school. That's where you're gonna network. And that's where you wanna apply. Don't apply because, for some other reason. It's really like where you expect to spend your life. Another thought too, say there's a really prestigious law school you wanna get into, and like, my grades aren't good enough. There's a little trick. Same with college. I don't know if you guys know this. You apply to like an easier school and then you can transfer. Because every law school, every college has like a transfer acceptance where they have to accept a certain amount of people. So if there's like this golden law school that you just fell in love with, but you couldn't get into, don't let it ruin your dreams. Really just apply to like the easy one and then transfer. And you will most likely, don't take my word for it, get in, which is, something I wish I knew beforehand. I didn't know until after the fact, but that's something. And then, what am I missing here? So we got to law school and then you wanted,
Yeah, just about how you're able to run a business, practice.
Yes, okay. So during law school, remember when I told you I was paying for my own law school? I was like, oh my God, this is so expensive. It's, I started my own business during law school called Little Miss Notary. So while you're in law school, you get free memberships to like the county bar, the San Diego County Bar Association, all these little attorney associations. Also, all their events are free to law students. So I really captivated on that. And so I'd go to every single thing, network. That's where I found my mentor. That's where I got my first job. I would also go to the CLEs, or continuing legal education. You have to do X amount per year. So I would go to those ones focused on starting your own law firm only. But I would apply that to my own little business, my Little Miss Notary business. And then I started this business. So I'm like, okay, I gotta file, I have to figure out if I wanted an LLC, a sole proprietor, like all these things during law school. So that was something, like I was training myself beforehand to start my own firm. I'm like, okay, do I want employees? Do I not? Okay, no, but I do need a business plan because I teach you these things. So then you do the business plan. So, all right, you've already done a business plan. You already filed a business. So you know how to do that. I'm like, okay, well, what else do I have to do? Like, oh yeah, business taxes. Okay, so you have to file the business for business taxes. But again, you guys have ChatGPT. This is gonna like lay everything out for you, so you don't have to worry so much. But ChatGPT is wrong a lot, so definitely use it as a legal assistant. And then, you don't trust him or her, you just like, okay, thank you for sending me something, I'm not, and then double check everything. That's how I do that. So, yeah, to answer the story, like you figure out the name, I did Aloha Divorce, because it means hello, goodbye, and with love. And I knew I wanted to do, family law. This is one of the questions, because one of my mentors I met at a networking event, she did family law, and I was like, "Ooh, okay." I'm like, there's two reasons I like it. I'm like, A, you're helping people and helping families. B, it's juicy. I don't need cable. I eat it right up. Like it is, there's no story that I'm bored with. Like any phone call I take, I'm like, yes, please tell me everything. Just tell me everything. And how can I help you? So there's like the juicy part. And then like I'm helping it feels like I'm helping a friend almost like, let me get you out of this crappy situation. Let me help you. Like, he did what? She did what? Let's get him, So that's how I got into family. Like it's something I could picture myself doing till like the day I die. Like it's not contract law, it's just not corporate law. It's not in a cubicle. It's fun. But you're talking about the emotions. You're like, oh, how do you navigate these emotions? So when I first started family law, I was taking anything that went to the door. Any divorce, I'm like, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it. Give it to me all, I'll just figure it out. But then I realized I'm so empathetic. Like I really resonate with these people. And when someone's lying, they're taking the kids. Like it's almost like they're taking the kids away from me. Like it hurts a lot, like I'm a little too empathetic. And I was pregnant at the time and it's like, okay, this is too much. I'm gonna have to switch gears somehow. So what I started doing is only amicable divorces where they're agreeing. I became a trained mediator to help those high conflict clients. And then I also do prenups. And prenups I love because everyone's happy, but you still get that psychological. Remember I told you I was a psychology and economics major. So I get that psychological approach where like, he just presented with a prenup. Does he not trust me? So I get to work through those emotions, which is really nice. And then there's the economic, like, all right, so how are we splitting the community property, like teaching them? So that's been really nice. So I found that niche. So just because you become an attorney doesn't mean you have to do everything. You can really find the niche. So my niche is prenups and amicable divorces. Anything else? I refer to other attorneys. I don't leave them high and dry because, I pitch these people like basically like as a friend would come to me. They're coming to like the most intimate information. It's really heartfelt and it's like the family. Interesting fact is like the family law attorneys are the number one attorneys to get shot over criminal law. Is that bizarre? Like they get shot more than I hate seeing myself. More than criminal law. So that's something. And starting their own business, again, it's, the logistics of it is like filing everything. And then in the beginning, it's all marketing, putting yourself out there, how are you gonna make clients? That's where the money comes from. You have to set up a business account and then you do that. And I love every single component of it. As a solo practitioner, I wear all the hats, so I do almost everything. The only thing I don't do is my bookkeeping, like that I outsource, but I do all my marketing. If you message Aloha Divorce on Instagram or Facebook, I'm the one message you back. It's not a receptionist, not, a law student. It's really me, just like, thank you for contacting Aloha Divorce. It's really me. So, little plug, follow Aloha Divorce, Facebook, Instagram, everything. Is there something I didn't cover?
Where did you go to law school again?
Thomas Jefferson.
Where's that university?
It's downtown San Diego.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so remember I was in like, you go to the easy one and then you transfer. I didn't transfer. I just went to like the easier one. And then I learned after the fact, the transfer thing, so. But they give you the most money too. So the easy ones will give you the most money. And I was so worried about paying my own debt.
One of my concerns is that like with the differences in like the reputations and of these colleges, easy or hard, is there like one of those like statistics that they're always showing on their websites is like the first time pass rate on the bar exam? Is that something that is like to be considered, or is it kind of?
No, it gives you bragging rights. You know, like, hey, like, in
Yeah.
case you're wondering, no
Yeah.
one's gonna ask you, but
Right.
just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, you can shove it in there.
Exactly. When it comes to law school, I've never had a client ask, but if your goal is to work for a very large law firm, it's nice. It just does a lot of legwork for you. You know, you don't have to know anybody there. You can be the kind of like a geek, quiet, weird, and still get into that big law firm just because of the title.
Mm,
But if you're friendly, personable, like you can connect, you don't really need to worry that much.
Okay.
And I shouldn't use the word geek, I'm sorry, I take that back. If you're like more reserved and like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Like, I never get that statement, off the record.
we don't need the charisma.
Yeah, exactly, it's really about, you know, I've had offers to work for larger law firms because they know how much business I can bring in because I'm good at marketing, and so they want me. I'm like, no, because I know, another reason why I chose to go solo was when I was law clerking during law school. So law clerking is either paid or unpaid, but you're basically, the, how do you say it in, professional, you're the peon of the attorney. I don't know, do you know that word? It's like, I don't know how to say it without cursing, just like the submissive person to an attorney. You see what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say without saying, okay, so you're like that very submissive person to the attorney. And I was law clerking and I could see how much the law firm were charging the clients and how much the attorney was getting paid. And remember, I started Lotus Notary, so I'm all about business focus. And I see that they're charging the client like $400-500 an hour, and they're paying the attorney like $75 an hour. I was like, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip that, you know? So that's something to consider, but working for a large law firm, you get the 401k, you get the prestige, like I worked here, you know, you get security. And what I do isn't really meant for everyone. It's like if you're not like a natural hustler, you know, um, it won't work. Big law firm's definitely a way to go because it'll set you up with like everything you need, like retirement plans, 401k, like sick leave, maternity leave, everything. But if you're more like hungry and like, because remember, I like never was given money for college, I paid for my own car. I've never imagined someone else paying me for anything. So I've always hustled, I always grind it, and like someone else paying me for something, just out of the question, like I don't even contemplate that. So it depends what what you like, what you need, and your current.
Is there a reason why you don't hire anyone or like intern anyone?
I would intern someone, I wouldn't hire anyone just because I feel like I'd be a annoying boss. Like I feel like I'm so like particular how I want things done, because remember, I did everything myself since starting when like I survived by myself, I figured it all out. My dad was a construction worker, I'm a lawyer, like big difference there. And I was only able to do that by my dad saying like, at age 17, I was like, you're out, you're like, basically, you're out of here, figure it out, sink or swim. And because of that, I was like, so my personal reasons, like I'm very particular of how I want things done. Like I know I won't mess it up. And if there's like even like the font was off, I'd be like, you know, I'd just be an annoying boss. And I don't want to do that to someone. But and there's another thing is like people call off sick. I'm like, are you really sick or are you hungover? Like, and I feel, you know, I busted chops about that too. So just like, get fired, you know? So I just, maybe later when I'm older and more relaxed. Right now I'm too uptight, you know? I don't know. Anything else?
What is your like typical day in your work?
Yes, you said that, that'd be a question. Okay, my typical day. So, it varies before kids. So I have two young ones. You can't really, I don't know, maybe you can. I have, two young ones, a 7-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. I wish I could, you know, put them on the screen. They're very cute. And, so right now it's different than before kids. Before kids, I had, my physical office I would go to every day. And I would check my emails, call back, potential clients, schedule the interviews, and then work with potential clients, make sure I'm on track with all of my deadlines, because family law has very strict like you need to file a petition this day, a response this day. It's very driven when it comes to deadlines, so that's important to keep track of deadlines. This is gonna sound not sexy, so like the every boring, responding to opposing counsel. But it's kind of fun too, because you'll get like a spicy opposing counsel, like, oh yeah, just like this, or you get nice and they're nice too.
So what kind of like documentation and paperwork is usually involved in a divorce? Or is it mostly like communicating between different attorneys?
It's equal. So like there's a lot of forms when it comes to family law. Like the petition, the response, financials, child custody, all that. So it's a lot of forms, and it's also a lot of negotiating. Especially if they don't have a prenup already, like everyone should have a prenup. So if you take anything from here, please, every single one of you get a prenup. I don't care if you have $0, -$, just get a prenup. Please get a prenup. And then, so that, yeah, a lot of forms and then negotiating, like my client wants the kids this days, he wants these holidays, all this stuff. But that was the more litigious ones, and that would take, it draws it out. That's why I start moving to the amicable collaborative divorce, where we're working together, like, okay, we're keeping the children in the center. Like sometimes I make them bring a picture of the kid and I'll put it up, like, you're looking at your kid when you're talking, like you're looking at the kid while you're talking to me. You're not fighting over custody because he, slept with the nanny. You're fighting custody because you love the kid and you think it's in the kid's best interest. So things like that, it's half forms and half negotiating, but it's also dependent on prenups. The personality is opposing counsel, are they jerks? Are they, are they collaborative? What
So
kinds of
is it
things?
easy to get into like amicable divorce kind of work, or is that not really like common?
It's not that common, but that's why I named it Aloha Divorce. If you're searching, like, if you can't pick up Aloha Divorce as amicable, like,
Yeah.
you're a little off. But for the clients that come in angry, say they got referred by a friend of a friend or another attorney or a previous client, not knowing, they just know Cassandra Koenig, call her. Then I work with them and try to see what are the odds it could be amicable. If not, I refer them out to another law firm that's known for, like, you'll see them on billboards. I don't want to say their name because I don't think I should. But like their business cards are little fake razor blades. Their coffee mugs have like the rings, what is called the
Punching ones.
yeah, those like rings,
Knuckle.
like it's like very, you get, you know what I mean? And the dark thing about it is those attorneys, they get paid the more you fight, because attorneys get paid hourly, right? So the more you fight, the more you go to court. It's almost like incentivizing. But you gotta have like a dark soul for that. Like I'm doing a Aloha Divorce, okay? Like I cannot make you fight to up the fees, yeah. Go ahead.
I don't see like divorces going down anytime
No.
soon. So would you say that like it's pretty like a safe bet to go into divorce law?
Yeah.
And also like, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, like as far as like the number of clients go and also just like how much you pay yourself, would you like what does that look like?
Yeah, these are all great questions because it's things I had to like Google when I started. Like, how do I pay myself? Like,
Yeah.
what do I do? How does this happen? So, for divorce rates, yeah, they're not going down. Typical for my divorce clients, I do a retainer. It can be anywhere between like 3,500 to like 6,000. If you go to like a bigger law firm, you're looking at 20,000, 10,000 retainers. They charge like 500 up to 1,000 an hour. I charge 300 an hour. I don't, it's a lot. I just don't think it's fair. I just can't picture myself ever charging that amount for a divorce. I just don't know how you're getting away with it, but so that gives you some taste of some numbers with my prenups, and other prenup attorneys. For me, I do flat rates because I had a prenup and I did get married. And I remember like you're getting married, you have to like budget the DJ, the plates, and you have like Excel sheets of all these budgeting, like Jesus. And then you have to do like a prenup. Like, I just want to know exactly how much that prenup's gonna cost me. I don't want to have like some infinity amount when I'm trying to budget the whole wedding. So I'm pretty set on doing a flat fee for the prenups. 2,500 to, again, 4,000. It depends how much assets, how much I'm gonna go through. Like a celebrity is gonna cost more because now they got like businesses, they've got property rights, it's gonna take a lot longer. So that may be like 10,000. So it depends who you're working with. If I'm working with like a teacher and a construction worker, like 2,500 is fine, like easy. There's no assets, but you're gonna set yourself up for the future. So that's something. And then I missed.
I guess I do actually have another question is that, like, would you say that the ratio, it's because you are more affordable, would you say you get more clients because of that?
Yes.
Okay, so does it kind of balance out? Do you actually end up making more than?
So that I don't really know. I don't think I make more because those big law firms, remember, like their business model of like charging super little for the employees, or I'm sorry, charging a lot for the employees and paying them very little. So all these employees that are working, they're getting so much money because like they're charging the client $300, but they're paying, say, the attorney like $50. Do you see the gap? And all that money is something they didn't do at all. It's just coming in.
Right.
So those big firms, that's something to think about. Yeah. So does that answer the question?
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely,
okay,
yes.
okay.
Going back to when you said like applying the school and then the loans, you said the loan changes with like the income, so like it's not, can you explain that part a little bit more?
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm not a loan advisor, I'm not like a tax advisor, I just my personal experience with paying off college student or law school loans is that when you go to pay it off, they look at how much money you're making. So if you're making a lot of money, your monthly payments are gonna be more. If you're making little money, your monthly payments will be less. And that's the nice thing about owning a law firm is that you can show very little because there's a lot of tax write-offs. That's another thing to think about. Like you can show very little, like, okay, I spent this much on the golf tournament that I hosted. Like, I spent this much, I've got no money, like I got no money. So that's something to think about. So yeah, it goes about how much income you make, and how much you can afford, and that's how the monthly payments. But now that Trump's, I don't know what's gonna happen. So last time I checked, that was it. Okay. Yeah.
How would you go about networking as like an undergrad?
Yes, I did a whole blog on this. So great. Thank you for asking. Networking is when I'm in, as an undergrad.
Or overall, just overall?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I was networking during law school. Remember I was telling you that? So I would go to like all the like San Diego County Bar Association, all the bar associations, like Family Law Bar Association, La Raza. I even went to like the Latino ones, like the African American ones. They were just everywhere. And it was just like the free networking like events. But remember, I love meeting people. In college, I was a bit of like a party girl. And so I'm like, you can put me in any room, I'll just talk to whoever's there. I don't get shy. I'm just happy to be around people and I like meeting people, hearing their stories and how can you help me? How can I help you? Never feel stiff. It's just natural to me. But if it doesn't come natural, I suggest having a glass of wine before and then going, or like a drink and then going. But yeah, I just signed up for everything and I would just go to them, just show up, not knowing anyone, just being like, hi, like I'm this person, like, who are you? Like just having a drink and people, a lot of other people there by themselves too. So it's just nice meeting people and talking to them, just like literally as if you would at a party.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
But
Was law school difficult for you?
Oh, yeah. So the scariest thing about law school is the first year, almost every law school that I'm aware of cuts 25%. So it's very competitive. Like you don't know who to trust. Like people are like creating outlines, so it's like groups, But again, there's gonna be some people you see at the clubs, like they're not in the library, they think it's a joke because the parents paid for it, like there's like, I'm like, it's whatever, but because I paid for it, I took it very serious. It's like, no, this is my money. I'm not losing this money. Like I'm not, because say you get cut that year, you don't get reimbursed. You gotta apply all over again. You gotta pay that same tuition. So that first year is the scariest. After that, it's, you know, the cut gets smaller. But that first year is the biggest cut. And that was the scariest part for me. I didn't get cut, so I was good. And I tried hard, but not like, I went to networking events, you know, not that many the first year because it's the most important year. But yeah, the first year was the hardest. Everything else was pretty good. And then the bar after, I passed on the second time. But I passed with only 25%. So under the rates, only 25% of the people passed, and I actually passed that 25, you know? So I was like, all right, that's some bragging rights. Like, you know? So yeah, just don't give up. Something you want, just don't give up. You don't pass the LSAT the first time, do it again. Keep going until you get it.
What was the hardest thing about law school for you?
I think that, honestly, it didn't feel hard. It was just that the stress for the first year of like potentially getting cut.
Okay.
That was the hardest part, is like you know, potentially, and then being like, who's on my team, who's not, is someone sabotaging me, like, what the fuck's going, excuse my language. What is going on?
Yeah.
It's like a mental game. So that was the hardest part. But other than that, it was just like college, and it was fun, and I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time in the library. You don't party like you do here. You know, like your party is that networking event. Like that's where your party, you know, you're meeting people. You're not getting hammered. You're not doing keg stands. You know, you're just having a beer, one glass of wine or whatever. And just meeting people, connecting. You're getting their business cards. You're following up with them. Like, it's a pleasure meeting you at this event. Hope to stay in touch. And that's one important thing. If you get a business card, you email them, you connect with them on LinkedIn, don't forget them, because you never know when they're gonna, you know, give you a client 10 years from now. Or I'm still friends with my college professors on Facebook and LinkedIn. No, my high school teachers I'm still friends with, you know, both of those too. So I just don't lose touch. Yeah, so you definitely want to keep in touch and always stay professional. Because the first thing I do when I'm doing a divorce, I go to the other spouses, whether it's a wife or attorney, I start looking their social media. I found one bad thing, I screenshot it. Please see exhibit A, you know, like one bad thing on social media. Like, don't do bikini shots, don't do like, you know, the muscle man, like, it's just look at as if someone's gonna hire you, they're gonna look you up. Just like you with anyone else, they're gonna look for you, they're gonna see. So what I do is I do like self audits here and there, like I just Google my name. Do I have a bad Google review? Is there an inappropriate picture where I'm like sticking my tongue out, thinking I'm being funny, like delete, you know? So that's some advice I wish I had, and
How did you manage the school life balance in law school?
okay, so I treated like a full-time job. I took the maximum loan out, so it paid for all of my like food, housing, the whole shebang. So it was really my everything, especially the first year. I made some friends, but when you're hanging out with friends, you're studying together. You're not going to, you know, restaurant. Yeah, so that's how I just really, it's a full-time job, law school. Especially the first year. Second year, you can get, you know, a job, you know, start your little misnomer business. Something like that, yeah.
How is like the social sphere and making friends, especially after you've thrown around the word sabotage a couple times?
Oh, yeah, that's hard. So it's, yeah, it's hard making friends. You just have to find someone you connect with. I had mostly guy friends in law school because I found them like more trustworthy. I picture some girls being like catty, you know, just like, can I trust you? I had girlfriends too, but I like the stoner guys were my favorite because they're just chill. They're just happy, you know. And then we'll study together and we'll do like mock trials together and we'll all laugh and it's nice. But that's again, my personal taste. It's not the answer to everyone, but yeah.
Did you work throughout law school?
Not the first year. The first year I did find that mentor who got me the job at a family law firm. And the way I got that job is, so she was at a networking event, like I was saying. And she's a woman, she's an attorney, and she did family law. And her name's Anna Romanskaya. And I remember like I just liked I was watching her from a distance. I just liked the way she carried herself. She was like professional, but very friendly, warm, like approachable. She seemed to know everybody. I was like, this girl's like, she's really nice. This is exactly who I want to be. So like I gotta meet her. So I went up to her. I was like, oh, yeah, like I'm Cassandra. Oh, well, my last name was Michael. I'm like, Cassandra Michael. Like I see that you do family law. Like, how do you like it? And you just let them talk because attorneys will, like me right now. So I was like, how do you like it? Just listen. And then one thing that I was good at was like business development and marketing. And I was like, well, what do you and your firm do for marketing? And she's like, oh, well, we don't do that much. We have got a website. I was like, oh, well, you should get like Instagram, Facebook, the whole shebang. You should be like sending email things. She's like, well, I'm glad you said that. Like, do you mind coming in and meeting the partners? I was like, no, please introduce me. So my first job was actually like their director of marketing. It wasn't even. And then I was there in the firm doing their marketing. I'm like, I can do some law clerking too. I'm a law student. So like, you know what, you're right. Like, and they would send me some stuff to do law clerking. So I was a director of marketing and law clerk for Stark and DeBorzio downtown. And they do like family law, criminal, real estate, and business. So I touched a little bit on all that, but I rather do family law. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's your overall experience at Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I loved all the friends I made. I loved my professors. They're all funny. Some were a little boring, but no, it was fun and I wouldn't go back. It goes by so fast. That's the thing. It was just like, I feel like it was yesterday and you're all similar, like you live close together and you have all of your friends and you blink and then it's gone and then you have 2 kids and 2 dogs like in the suburbs, and just what happened? So yeah, it was amazing.
I've heard of this term called cold calling in
Huh?
law school. What is that?
So cold calling is, you can't do it as a lawyer. But cold calling is just like calling prospects.
Oh, no, I feel like something like a professor like calls on a student to like answer something.
Oh, that. Oh, okay. I know what you're saying. Oh, okay. So that is, yeah, you have to be on your toes.
Okay.
If you get an assignment, there's no not doing your homework. There is no not doing your homework. You read those cases because they will call on you and you stand well, my experience is you stand up and you answer.
Okay.
And if you don't, that professor is gonna really give you a spanking. They're just gonna drill you until you're not gonna cry, but you're almost gonna cry. Just like, you just do your best. So you just have to do the readings. If you don't do the readings and you get called, you're completely, the word I'm saying, but yeah. So you have to do that. That's a good question. I forgot about that. Yeah.
You mentioned your psychology background. I'm
Uh-huh.
wondering how you've already mentioned before, obviously, but do you use some aspects of psychology in your like day-to-day life?
Oh
work?
my God, yeah.
Yeah,
Every single day. And
And how?
and that's my number one, my learning, remember those CLEs, continuing legal education, you have to do X amount per year, like a certain amount of hours. Mine are typically all kind of psychological based. I also network with psychologists and psychiatrists. Because when people go through a prenup, they're like, there's a lot of emotions, like, he gave me the prenup, does he not trust me? Or how do I tell him that I want a prenup? Like, how do I bring this to him? And that's a psychological component of what's the best way to present it. And like, how do you not hurt their feelings? There's a lot of aspects that people consider when they're doing it. And not that they're, purposely trying to hurt the person's feelings, you just don't think about it. Because in your mind, the prenup's just that, like, it's a no-brainer. But you're assuming that the other person thinks like you. And that's not necessarily the case. So there's a big psychological component with prenups. And even with divorces, like, even though they're amicable, it's a lot like, who gets the dog? We both had this dog during the marriage. I walk it every day, but you buy the food. We both love it. Who gets the dog? Same with like the children, like, how's it gonna affect the kids? They're used to this routine and you've got to keep that routine and Or like one person I referred to, a therapist, was a woman and her husband just left. Like, when I said left, like, he moved to Florida, just like, he just woke up, decided to go to Florida. They have no kids, luckily. But she's like, wait, we never argued. Like, what is going on? He just left. And that's, you know, an emotional toll. It's a lot. And it's like, I can try to help, but I probably do more harm than helping. I don't know what, like, I'm just saying what I think is okay. You should talk to a therapist. So yeah, but being that I have the psychological background, I know what I can and cannot do. And I know I can't give psychological, you know, advice because that's, you know, malpractice, medical malpractice. But I have the whereabouts where I know that they need it. So that's where it helps me. Like, I can't give that advice. I can only give legal advice. I also don't want them to treat me like a therapist because I cost a lot more than a therapist. Like, the insurance doesn't cover this, you know? Like, you're gonna waste all this time for no advice. Might as well just like vent to someone that can actually help. If you want to vent, just don't forget that you're paying me by the hour. I can't just stop the clock because, you know, and that's the hard part because I want them to feel comfortable. So that is kind of why I keep my rates a little bit lower because I know that that stuff's going to come up. And I do find passion in helping them and letting them have that safe space and also giving them the resources that they need. And again, not leaving them high and dry, just like this legal, some attorneys are like, this is just legal advice, don't waste your time. I'm not like that, I'm empathetic. Okay.
As a follow-up question,
Mhm.
if I may ask,
Of course.
what's the juiciest case, I guess, that you've?
Yeah. I was representing the husband and he was showing like the wife's crazy. The wife was it's during Christmas time. She was like throwing ornaments down. They have two kids, twins, 3-year-olds. She was like throwing ornaments down the stairs. And he's recording all of this. And she was like really upset. I was like, oh my God, she's fine. You know, she's like, you know, I was like, ooh, I'm like, what? Like, she's crazy. Like, you need to get out of that house. You know, you arrest her. Turns out he was sleeping with a nanny. That's why he broke. I'm like, oh, okay. So, yeah. And maybe understand why she was breaking those ornaments during Christmas time when she found out the nanny was coming to the house. He was, you know, hooking up with her. And that was the juiciest when it took me a role, like took me back, like, oh my God, I felt so bad for, well, I didn't know. I'm representing him. I didn't feel that bad for her, but he didn't disclose that to me. So that's another like thing. You're always coaching a client, like you understand, like I can only advocate if you tell me the truth. You start like hiding things. I can't, you know, I'm not here to judge. I'm just here in your best interest only. If I had that information beforehand, you know, I would be able to do a better job. The other craziest case, I was shadowing a judge and it was a judge who was doing, she worked two departments. It was a restraining order and like traffic. It's like, which department do you want to shadow? And I'm like, restraining order, for sure. Like, give me the restraining order. So I'm sitting there just like shadowing her and, you know, in the courthouse, there's no like wedding, like one side's like defendant, plaintiff sit, it doesn't matter where you sit. So you never know who's who. And it was this guy, he was so jacked, huge. He had like a teardrop tattoo like at his neck, so, like definitely steroids. And then you see a petite blonde, like white cardigan, pearl, like I'm wearing pearl earrings, yeah, like pearl earrings, like it's a little thing. And I was for sure, like, she's doing the restraining order against him. No, he was doing the restraining order against her. And it was because they dated like 10 years ago. He's married, kids. She's sending little pieces of his underwear in the mail to him. Every day. Just like little pieces, pulling on her hair, just mailing it to him so he doesn't forget her. I was like, that was gnarly. That was a lot. Another crazy was another restraining order. It's like the juicy stuff because it's entertaining. It was a homosexual guy. The plaintiff was not there. The defendant was there, and keep in mind, like I was sitting there the whole time, and when the defendant walked in, I didn't know he was the defendant. He's just like everyone just walking in, he gave me like the creeps. Like he was just like, he's well polished, think of like Ted Bundy, like suit, like clean cut, handsome, but like the way he was, like, I felt like it was a soulless person. And I felt it from the moment he walked in. And then when the case came up, the plaintiff never showed up. He must have been like too scared. So behind chambers, when you like after everything's over, because if the plaintiff doesn't show up, the restraining order is just dropped. They never showed up. So I talked to the judge behind closed doors, like, what was that? Like, what? You know, like, what happened there? He's like, this is the second hearing. The first one he showed up, it was like a small little Hispanic, like from Mexico, man living here. And this guy was like tall, handsome, but soulless, like white guy. And she's like, I think he killed him. Like, this is what he did. This is the alleged charges. So I got to read the alleged charges. I could share it with you because I'm not giving you any names. So the alleged charges was the creepy guy. They went on a dating app to see each other. And the creepy guy hooked up with them, a dating app, left. It was like a one night stand type of thing, left. You think everything's fine. The plaintiff goes to sleep. The guy crawls in the window, beats him with a bat, says, if you ever tell anyone who saw me, I'll kill you. But like he has the pictures to show and leaves through the window again. Creepy. And then the next time he goes to court, the guy doesn't show. Like, and no one's there to check in on them. You know, if you don't show, you don't show, it just gets dropped. Like, who's to check in on that guy? That was like, all right, not doing restraining orders. Not doing that. That's heavy. So that's, you know, it's some juicy stories from like funny to sad, scary, but they're all there. Is that too, I hope that wasn't too much information. But it's true, it's, you know, that's what's happening.
Well, another part of family law is like domestic violence and child custody cases. Do you have like a lot of experience in those?
No, I avoid them with the plague because like stuff like that, like, I really admire attorneys that can stomach that stuff, you know, especially when it's like infidel, like when I was law clerking, I didn't have a choice of what I was seeing, you know, so you see like the stepdads like raping the kids, that's a domestic violence, and you have to be able to stomach it and you have to be able to hear it. For me, I'm like, I'm just gonna get my gun license. I'm just gonna show up in the house. You know, I can't do that. I'm like too empathetic. You know, I can't stomach those things, but God bless the attorneys that can, because you are making such a big difference. But it does take such a toll on like someone, especially someone like me who's very empathetic. Like if I see someone crying, I start crying majority of the time. And it's just, yeah, that's a really heavy case, but you're making the most difference with those. So if that's the route, I really wish you will do it because I cannot, like, I really hope you can. I plan on doing more of that later on when my kids are older, and out of the house, but right now it's too heavy because I want to give my number to them 24/7. Like if anything happens, you text me. You don't call the office, you call my cell phone, I'll call the cops. They'll have like a private word like code red or something. But right now I just just can't do it. But yeah, it's a lot, and that's what makes family law so special is when you help families like that. It's rewarding. Anything else? No? Cool. I'll leave my card for you guys. You wanna email me, follow me, whatever, just actually when you start studying for the LSAT, you want advice, whatever, just call me, text me, email, DM me, whatever's easiest. It's so nice meeting you guys and thank you for the opportunity.